Hi, everybody. It's Mark again, and I hope you're enjoying the series Cuckoo Clock Repair for Beginners. Um, I hope everybody's learning things because that's what it's all about, is to learn things. Well, today we got something special. I think you're going to enjoy it. If you collect cuckoo clocks, then you're going to enjoy this clock. So kick back, relax, grab something to eat, grab something to drink, grab a cigarette, and together we're going to learn things. If you're going to collect cuckoo clocks, you might get into other German Black Forest clocks also. And this is what's considered a Postman's clock. My friend that I go help repair his clocks all the time for, he gave me this clock. He didn't like the clock. A lot of people don't like these clocks. They have an alarm on them, and they were designed back during horse and rider for the postal service, that the postmaster would take a nap and to rest up to get prepared for the next horse and rider that came along. And so when they set the alarm can't be shut off, and so it'll continue to ring. And I'm sure it gets louder than that, but it'll continue to ring until the postmaster gets up out of bed. And so there's no snooze button, there's no shut off, and so that's why a lot of people don't like these clocks. I don't know whether it runs or not. I'm sure it does, but we're gonna take it apart. Now, with these clocks, and this is the first time that I'm getting around to looking at this clock. With wooden case clocks like this, the chain system, or the time and the strike, are in line with each other. That means it's an older clock. And nowadays they are side to side from each other, but with them being in line with each other like this, it means it's an older clock. And a lot of the clocks were rope driven, and some of them were changed over to the weight system. So I'm gonna take the hands off and get me a container to put all the parts in and get started on this clock. Here's some instructions on setting the alarm. And hanging the clock. And I don't know if I could see this that well. You can probably see it better than I can, but let me see what it says. It says turn the small dial to the right in the same direction as you would the hands. That's this dial right here. Until the point at the back of the small hand is exactly opposite the time on the brass dial at which you wish the alarm to go off. The light waits on before going to bed and take something when the bell rings in the morning. All the instructions are not there, but basically what it's saying is you want this number here. Let's say you want it to go off at 12 o'clock. You put opposite of the hour hand on 12. If you want it to go off at 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock or whatever, this is how you set the alarm. To take the hands off, you unscrew this nut. That's not normally how you take the hands off. You would unscrew the nut, but it all came off, so there's also another nut here that you would unscrew. Pull off the minute hand, pull off the hour hand, and then you undo these latches to take the dial face off. And this is going to be critical in putting it back together to set the alarm. There's a bunch of gummed up grease in here. So, in this trying to figure out how the alarm itself works. There might be a missing piece. I never had a Postman's clock before. We're learning things together. This front section is for the time. As you can see, when I pull on the weight, the everything starts ticking. But the back section is for the alarm. There we go. And this lever here is what would go on top of this arbor. Let me see if I can get this off. This wire would go on top of this wooden arbor, and then when it falls into that notch, that's when the alarm goes off. And this is not the first wooden plate movement that I've ever worked on. You want to be careful because the wood will break on you. But this would rest on top of the wood until it falls into that notch. When it rests on top of the wood, it is stopping the alarm. And you can see this lever here is stopping the alarm from sounding off. But when it falls into that notch, it drops this lever here, and then it allows the arm, the gong, to hit the bell. And I would assume that there's a spring that needs to be connected. So that thing sounds louder. Well, part of the reason why it's not loud is because the bell itself is loose. But like I said, I want to clean all this up. So that's what we're going to do. There's a spring right here, and it was in the wrong position. Because when that activates, the spring should be pushing it down. So put it in the right position. Now it is spring activated. But I still think that the bell, the hammer, should have a spring on it also. But the first thing that you want to do when you're taking apart a wooden plate movement is you want to make sure that the gears, this is the plate that you're going to remove. There's a nail or screw, whatever, right here that holds it in. But you want to make sure that the gears are going to come off. And so here I have to take out this tapered pen. Which will allow me to take this gear off. Which is greasy and dirty as crap. And then I need to be able to take the chains off So I'm going to put a weight on it and let it run for a little bit so the hook is farther down so I could take the chains off. So we'll come back after this hook is dropped. And this is the kind of weight that it came with. Looks to be an original weight. I'll have to weigh it, but it came with 2 of these weights. The weights are 1,200 grams, a little over 1,200 grams. And on the hook, you can spread apart here to get the chain out. The chain, remember this is a flashlight with a magnetic on it. The chain are brass. So that shows you how old this clock is. They originally used brass chains in clocks like this. Now this one can easily be taken off and slipped out. Now the next step is to pull this pin right here. I might be able to, I don't really want to take these staples out, because when you take staples out, I'll go ahead and do it. It'd be easier to get the plate out. And I want to clean up the wood. So, like I said, the next step is to take this little piece here out, and then this plate will slide forward. A little eye hook, and now the plate will slide forward. And I just wanted to show you that this is what held the hands on. It screws into this brass piece here. This has nothing to do with the hands rotating. What has to do with the hands rotating is just like on a Cuckoo clock, is this gear here that goes here. And so this comes off the main gear, which connects to the minute pipe and then the hour wheel, like so. So this is what drives the hands to turn. But now that I got that pen out, I can slide this plate forward and the gears start coming out. And you might want to get a picture of this. That way you know how to put them back in. But you have the great wheel. You see how oily and filthy that is? And then the second wheel. And then the escapement wheel. Look at all the grease on the virgin crutch assembly. Now to get the back section off, you have to take this back plate off. To get the other gears out. So I'm going to see if I can get a little screwdriver in there to pry with. Hopefully I don't break nothing. There's a nail right here that's bent over. Now I'm trying to get that off. Because the top section, I believe, is held in place by these two wooden dowels. Let me get my special tool. I use these two set of pliers a lot. Not only do I remove hands with them, but they're also good for taking nails like this out. And you don't want to squeeze too hard, just enough to grab onto it, and then using the curved part, you can pull the nail out, and you don't damage the wood. And so there's another nail right here, but I don't think I'm going to be able to get that one out. There's not enough meat left on it. So maybe it will come apart. Just not a lot of nail left on it, but it needs to come out. This side is free. As you can see, the dowel is coming up its hole. But this side over here, what's stopping it is a stupid nail that don't want to come out. And that's not what I want to do. So I'm going to think about it. Grinding the top of the nail off with my Dremel, and then putting a screwdriver in the plates, pounding it slowly, closing it, putting the screwdriver in between the plates, pounding it, closing it. Eventually it came off without any damage. And so I'll have to pull this nail out and replace it. If it wants to come out, that is. Again, you'd be surprised what you can do with these tools. So now, look how oily the verge assembly is. So now, undoing these two pins here will allow me to take this plate off. But I want to take the pendulum leader wire off. It is just full of oil. And the pendulum leader wire should be straight as narrow, just like a cuckoo clock. But to get this out, I'm going to have to undo these screws. With the right screwdriver, of course. I still don't have the right screwdriver. There's my son's kit that he got me comes into play. Not big enough. I use this kit quite a bit. I thank you, Stephen, for my kit. And you can find that kit on Wish for like $7 or $8. It's not the price that counts, it's the thought. to get this out, I got to take this pen out. And I think I got to take this out. To get this plate out. Maybe not. I'll move this gear out of the way, then maybe things will work better. There we go. I'm not going to take nothing else apart, but these gears are all oily. They do work, which is a good thing. The ratchet is holding its own. I'm putting pressure on it, so the ratchet wheel is working. But look how filthy these are. And so far nothing's broken, which is a good thing. And by the way, even with the wood plate movements, you still have pivot bushings. And you still have to take and clean those bushings with toothpicks. They're brass bushings, and all that gunk in there will stop a clock. So time to clean out the parts. I hope y'all are enjoying this video. Now I got the case all cleaned up with New Life Furniture mask, and I'm cleaning out the pivots. Now when you clean out the pivots, you also want to clean out the holes themselves. A Q-tip works, and you might have to use several Q-tips because it gets dirty. And then when you clean out the pivot holes, you want to look down in there like you would if you were cleaning the barrel to a gun, and making sure that it's nice and shiny and that there's no oil deposit down inside those holes. As you can see with this Q-tip, you see all the gunk that was inside that pivot hole? Quite a bit. And that will stop your clock. And you can see all the gunk that's around this pivot hole. And you could sit here and clean it out with a toothpick like so, or you can get a Q-tip and stick down in there and clean it out. Whatever it takes. Still pretty cruddy. And I'm going to try something. I shoved a Q-tip down in my drill. Voila. It's looking a lot better already. And less work on me. That's what I like. Now these are flexible Q-tips, so they're not breaking. And they're plastic. that hole, look, whoa, having camera issues. I don't have a big enough table. This hole looks pretty clean as far as the outside of it, but I've got some oil deposits on the inside, and that might be from the New Light furniture mask that I used. So you want to make sure that the pivot holes are nice and clean. So I'm going to continue doing this with my drill and toothpicks, and we'll get back. I got the movement all cleaned up. Not only did I put a Q-tip in my drill bit, I also put toothpicks in my drill bit to clean out the bushing. So I normally do not clean up the parts. Put them in my ultrasonic cleaner, but I think I'm going to take a brass brush to my parts to clean them up. I say brass because they're mostly made of brass. So here I have a brass brush in my Dremel. And so I'm going to continue doing that with all the rest of the parts. Hopefully you can see it, but there's a little bit of groove in the pallet here, and here is where the escapement wheel teeth have been hitting. So I'm going to file that so it's flat again. And when you're ready to put it back together, make sure you're using the right pivot holes, because you got this side, which is for the time side, and then you got this side, which is for the strike side. And it just so happens that the strike side holes are offset, meaning I used this hole and this hole in order for it to work right. And when you're putting the strike side together, I put a screw in this bar here. Of course, the bar goes underneath this bar for the gong, and then there's a hole for the pivot hole for this piece right here that's got all these tabs on it. And then you put the bar over here and then tighten the screws down. And I don't know if you notice or not, but every one of those tabs are bent. And I'm sure they're that way so the gong can slide over. Putting the last screw on. Now we have to put the verge assembly on. And don't forget to use a toothpick on this part right here that the verge goes into. Of course, it would help if the gear would stay in place. And then putting the verge assembly itself on. I had to look at my pictures to figure out which way this goes, whether it goes this way or whether it goes this way, and it goes this way. So you put it into the slot down at the bottom, and that verge came out of its hole. Put it into the slot down at the bottom, and then finessing with the rest of it. Now the verge crutch assembly has to go through this hole first. I'm sorry, y'all can't see. The crutch assembly has to go through this hole first, or it's not going to work right. And then putting the plate into the slot down at the bottom. And lining up the gears. The loop is got in the way. So I'm going to try it like this to see if the loop will stay out of the way. The loop that is what the pendulum leader wire fits on. There it stays out of the way. Now I just got to get the gears to line up with their pivot holes. I wish I had better light in my house, and I'm sure y'all do too. There we go. Now I want to make sure that the bridge assembly goes in its holes before I press everything down. Now we got everything in, so now I need to put in those little keepers. That go into those holes up here on the top. Clean them off because they're dirty. These little keepers. There's one. Taking my punch and my hammer to put this keeper in. And there's two. And when I turn the gears, the bell activates. As long as the bell is in the right spot. The hammer, that is. The problem is the bell screw is not tightening up enough. So I might have to add some filler. Or something to this hole to get it to tighten up. And I think that's what I'm going to have to do after I put all this other stuff together. Now it's time to put the strike side together. Escapement wheel. The second wheel. And the great wheel. And then the plate. And starting the great wheel first, and then pushing the plate down, but not too far, because you have to put the pivots in. Pop the escapement wheel in. Escapement wheel pivot is in. Now the second wheel. And now the escapement wheel pivot. Popping it into place. Making sure that you can popping it in the right spot. And then it all falls into place. And I should be able to turn the great wheel and the birch and crutch assembly does its thing. Which it will once I adjust it. And so that will be at the very end. Now I have to put the keeper there so this doesn't fall out. And I misplaced it. It's not in my parts box. So I'm going to find one. That was part one of this video series. Unfortunately, it's a long video, and my editing program will not allow me to make one complete video. So stick around for part two next, and I hope you're enjoying this repair on a Postman's clock made around 1850 to 1880 is my estimate. But stick around for part two.